Because I'm seeing you
Okay, you are? Good. On
on
Facebook?
Zoom. No, on Zoom.
Okay.
I hope that you're there. Let me go look.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Meshell Baker, and today is September 23rd, and we have another live guest here on the Women of Sales and Influence. And as you all know, I am in the business of belief. So I bring on amazing women who have moved into that space of sales and influence because they believe so strongly in what they do, how they connect, how they are empowering and transforming their clients, that they are transferring in that through how they speak to them. So in this amazing woman, I've also had the opportunity to work with her, alongside her. Kerri Hummingbird, she has books out. She's absolutely incredible. So Kerri, the rule of Women of Sales and Influence is that a woman who is in that space, she knows how to introduce herself exceptionally well and brag upon herself. So I'm going to step back, let you take the stage, and tell us who you are. Welcome, Kerri. And who are you?
Well, I'm Kerri Hummingbird, and I am a soul guide, and I might be one of the more alternative guests that you've had on your show. But what I do is I help people to navigate that space between the life that they live from their ego or their personality into the life that they live from their soul in their surrender to a higher something, a higher power, and that they can actually, have a life of grace and ease and flow from that space. And so that's what I love to do. I love helping people walk that journey and open up that door and take all the little steps. There's some of them are a little bit tussly with the ego, so I help people navigate that too. It can be fun or it can be difficult, so it's fun with a guide. It's just more fun to walk it with a guide, especially when you have somebody with a good perspective. So that's what I like to do.
So, oh my God, absolutely incredible. And I'm like, you see, I'm chomping at the bits because you've said so much goodness in such a short period of time. And I want to talk a little bit about that guide before we get into, because you're going to be talking about influence from the heart. And I believe, as I've experienced, and I know you have too, and some of our viewers can attest to this, that guide comes from the heart, right? So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how that process of the guide, or what that means, like by another term. So people who are like, what does she mean, a guide? Is there a coach? Or when you're talking about that guide, I'd love for you to just dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people have questions about this. So when we're living from our mental pattern, our thoughts and our mind, then we can get really trapped up in what I call the ego, which is a personality self, trying to control everything and make it all happen. And you think no one's supporting you and you have to do it all yourself and you don't have any help and life is hard and a struggle and you have to push everything, up the hill, and it's super challenging. And that is the way we usually all start off, right? That's how we all start. And then at some point, something happens that opens you to something bigger. And when that point happens, then the whole game changes in your life. And the goal is to figure out, how do we get more and more and more of that and less and less and less and less of this? And it puts you in your heart. It puts you right in your heart, so you can feel more, you can express more, you have more trust, you have more faith, you have more love, you have more certainty that everything's going to work out just fine, even if it looks like a total mess right in front of you, is going to be all right at the end of the day. So it's a coming from more from the heart and the knowing in the heart. And for women, I also like to add in the womb, because there's a way that your womb is super wise. Like, it has a lot of answers, and you can listen to that and you can bring it into your heart and you can act from that space. Things just open up. So that's why I teach people how to navigate. And the little bridge between this part and this part, the mind and the heart, it's only this many inches, but boy, it's a journey. Like, it really does take some extrication out of the way you think it should be into the way you feel it and know it when you turn this off and you just kind of step out of this. I hope that was a good question.
Oh, no, it's absolutely wonderful. And I know they say it's 12 inches from the head to the heart, but it's the longest journey of your lifetime.
It is
the way it's been described by many people, because, the everything in our heart, we're born with our directions, right? Your guidebook, anything that is a magnificent and wonderful in this life has a guidebook, and we have guidebooks. And that's where you're speaking of. The guide that's inside of us was given to us. So, and I love that.
Yeah, and the guide tells you to do crazy stuff sometimes, like become a soul guide and put it all over Facebook and LinkedIn, like, I mean, I want to say, like, I didn't start off as a soul guide. I started off as a high-tech communications person for, Silicon Valley. Like, I was in high tech and I did marketing and technical communications, and I worked for startup companies. I was very well respected in that regard doing that work. I could earn a really good income. If I didn't have any work, I just put the word out and I would start getting jobs. So I did that for 20 years, and that's how people knew me on LinkedIn. And then I had my awakening, and my God, my source, my spirit, my creator said, that's not who you are. That's just who you've been. So you could get all the skills to learn how to explain things to people, because that's what I did all day long, is explain difficult concepts to people. You needed to learn how to do that so you could do this, because this is more important.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a soul guide, is because I'm a translator of, like, I explain difficult things to understand and break it down so you can make it practical and, like, do it in your life. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and so we're going to thank you for that. That's absolutely amazing. And I just want to uncover that a little bit, because there's two things you said here. One, you said that, you had this background. It was very technical, and you're still using that same level of expertise, but just in a different manner. So I'd love for you to talk about how that example sale, or the influence of communicating with people, has it changed, or is it similar? And the other thing is that you mentioned was leverage. So nothing's wasted. Your background prepared you for who you were meant to become this whole time. And it's because you're in a space of gratitude. Like you said earlier, all of this is just saying thank you. So now you get to go out and you get to leverage this experience on a daily basis, that it's all working out for you, right? So I'd love for you to, take, and I'm just going to sit back for the ride here, right?
Well, I think the thing that gets people tripped up, and what got me tripped up, was that a lot of times when your heart starts to open and you start to, receive guidance from something bigger than you start to go, but that doesn't make sense or fit in with my idea of who I thought I was, or my idea of how I was supposed to show up here. Like here's my checklist for how to accomplish a sale, right? I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to send my email out, and then I'm going to do, and you're doing the checklist. But when you start to live according to your heart and the guidance that's coming through your heart, you can throw the stupid checklist away. Like, actually, you don't need to do any of that. Like, you could be doing something completely different, and all of a sudden the money starts rolling in. So how do you do that? By aligning with your heart. So influence is like all from the heart. It's all listening to the inner guidance. And so the biggest thing that you need to do is stop running around and doing the checklists. Like, forget that. The checklists, they're there as an aid, maybe to get you started. But if you want the really totally fulfilling experience, then you got to learn how to get out of here and quiet it down and get in here, so that you can hear the guidance, which isn't very loud until you ignore it for a long time, and then it gets loud. But at first it's not so loud. So if you want to get on the bandwagon early, before you have all the bumps in the head and knocks and accidents and things like that, which will start to happen if you don't listen, then you can actually come from the heart. And when you come from the heart, like, the ways that things unfold are amazing. Like, it's amazing. So so I love this, Meshell, because you already know the answer to this. Like, where does the real influence come from? Right? The real influence comes from the divine. It comes from your heart. It comes from that which is bigger than you. That is the real influence. So when you tap into that influence, things open, things happen, and you've got to surrender to that constantly. That's the game after you make, when you're making that bridge, it's that, like, constant surrendering to the bigger influence. Because if you're trying to have influence as a little personality self, as an ego, you're like your checklist, and like, if I just do these things, I'm supposed to get it. No. And then you go, well, how come it didn't work? Because you're using this influence, this one. You're trying to get this one to do this. It can't. So.
Yeah. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love this whole, and at National Association of Sales Professionals, we define influence is the ability to inspire someone to say yes for their own reasons, right? When you're selling, I'm trying to convince you to buy. And that's what happens in most most cases, when you're not doing something that comes from your heart, you're just attempting to sell a product or a service, right? I need someone to buy it because I need money, I need commission, I got bills, all that stuff. And what you're speaking of is coming from the heart. So when I come from the heart, I am actually attaching to you. I am in my unique, I am the gift I'm meant to be to this world. So when I'm aligning with what your desire is, and I'm trusting that it's not an accident that you're standing in front of me, right? 7.5 billion people on the planet. What are the chances that you will be standing in front of me and need the product and service that I have? I'm trusting something greater than me, right? The thing that makes the sun rise and set and the earth rotate, oh, whatever you want to call it, right? And I love this, right? I'm all goofed up right now.
I know. Well, Meshell, and this is like, there's a pivot. There's a pivot a person can do, and I've done this pivot. I have no judgment. If you're in the sales mode and you're in the feeling of like, I've got to get this sale because I've got to pay my rent, I so get that. I understand that. I have lived that. I made the leap, even as a healer, made the leap into being a healer. Like I went from high tech salary to being a healer, and I had that panic. I had that like, oh my God, like I'm doing spirit work and I'm where's the money? Oh my God, I got to pay my bills. I got to pay. Oh, and I took all the responsibility for that as me, little self with very little influence, took the responsibility to make all that happen. And then when I did that, it was a struggle. It was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I got to pay my bills. And it was all about me and my scarcity at that moment. And Meshell, you've walked this journey with me. So yeah, you know, I'm confessing. You felt the energy with me, you know, and you were like, Kerri, you need to change. So
well, we had attracted each other, so we were both in scarcity. So
we were
feeling
real,
right?
it, right? Like, this is scary. Like, how am I going to survive? And oh my gosh. And you feel fear and like, oh my gosh, nothing, you know, and I got to convince this person because I got to pay my rent and my kids and I've got my reasons and it's all about you. So when you make the pivot and you let the bigger influence come in, the one that has all the influence, you know, whatever that is for you, use your name. It doesn't matter. Universe, God, source, creator, bigger than me, my soul. I don't care. Whatever name you use, it's all the same thing. It doesn't matter. So you want to let that bigger influence come through your heart and inspire you. And not only that, but like your heart will then tell you how gifted you are. Like what a gift you are to the world, like how important you are to the people, like you have something special that they need. And so then you know, they're getting put right in front of you on purpose because they need you. They need you. Otherwise they wouldn't be in front of you. They need you so you can relax. You can just relax. That person got put in front of you because they need you. So take the attention off of you and what you need and put it on them and what they need. And the whole magic recipe comes out. It took me years to figure that out, Meshell. Years.
And you figured you experienced it. And the beauty was because you were relentless in your pursuit. You didn't give up.
I didn't give up.
You didn't give up, and you knew that there was something greater, right? Because had you given up, you'd have gone back and gotten a job, or you'd be selling something that you're, you know, you like or, you know, passionate about, and it's not necessarily. It's not. I was trying to be polite because like you said, there are people who have the bills, and that's a real thing. That's a real thing. And to understand that when you're coming from that place of the heart, you also experience abundance. And what I tell people, abundance is simply by the definition, it means infinite, unending, and unlimited, right? There is no competition in abundance. Abundance means that you are my, the marketplace coworker, right? There's no such thing. We're creating this as we go every moment and every day. And that's what you're talking about, that willingness to understand that it's all working out in your favor.
Exactly. And when so here's another place people get tripped up is that they're in the mode where, and I know this because like I said, I walked this journey where I need to pay my mortgage is due on such and such a date, right? And oh my gosh, I got to come up with the money for that. And how am I going to do that? I got to get healings. I got to get some way to get out in front of people. I got to go to my BNI meeting and tell them about stuff that they're like, think I have 3 heads and I have to somehow sell them on this, you know, this healing. So I started realizing, okay, the solution is to do the opposite of what you think you should do. Like in that moment, you think you should get really busy doing stuff to get money. Like you you think I need to get really, really busy and go out and get the money. I got to convince people or do something to get the money. But the answer is to get still. You know, the answer is to get quiet and to get
Yes.
still and to stop
Yes.
moving and to be the eye of the storm. Like you got to
Yes.
be the eye of the storm. You can't, if you're in the swirl and the storm, you're just getting tossed about at the waves and everything's just coming at you. And then you get into frenzy and you got to like go sell somebody. And then it gets ucky because people feel the energy of that. And you're trying to like cling on to them. Like your life raft is like, is got a hole in it and you got to like get in theirs. And then you're
Yes.
not being of service to them, right? Like you're making them be in service to you. So you got to get still, because when you get still and you get grounded, and I love to go outside barefoot and just stand on the ground and get grounded and go, okay, take deep breaths in my body, expand my belly, because I was stopped breathing because probably I was afraid and I quit breathing. And then my body's like freaking out because I stopped breathing, so you got to actually like breathe, take a breath. There's something bigger than me that gave me this life. I wouldn't be moving and breathing and talking and thinking if it wasn't for that bigger thing. So, and I bet it knows what to do. Like, and if you get still long enough, you'll get the answer for the next thing and it'll be inspired. And I love your gratitude too. Like gratitude is like the magic elixir to shift from sales to influence. Like gratitude is the magic elixir.
Every time and I love that you call it a magical elixir, because I tell people it is the express route to change everything. The only reason you're feeling struggle is because you're in scarcity. And the minute you find something to be grateful about in that moment, it changes your perspective and it takes you from focusing on the problems to expansiveness that allows you to see possibility. Takes you from looking at an obstacle to opening up the opportunities, and it pulls you out of the platform, the pitfall, and turns it into a platform that elevates you. So there's so much that happens with gratitude. It's the game changer. It really changes, and it puts you in a state of, we talked about, I tell people I'm in the business of belief, and it puts you in that space of belief. When you believe, you're grateful. Nothing is bothering you. You're happy. Everything is working on your favor, right? You got unicorns and rainbows and, like birds chirping and butterflies and all the things when you're grateful. So gratitude changes everything.
And you got to go through the fear to get to the gratitude. I think that's part of it. When you stop and you go, okay, I'm in the middle of something really scary, like your mortgage is due tomorrow and you have no money, like something like that. You would just stand and stay in that moment and feel everything. Don't try to escape it. Feel it. Get the ground underneath you. Breathe. Be in your body. Be in your space. Feel it. And then don't tell stories about it. Let the stories go. Just don't tell any stories. And then just be at the feeling. And then take a moment and go, okay, but I'm still standing here and the earth is supporting me. The earth is the earth is supporting me. What else do I have? The sun is shining. Okay, the sun is shining. Great. What else do I have? I have me. Great. And so you can start making a list, and it doesn't work until it transitions from a mental thing into a heart opening feeling thing. Like when your heart opens with it, you got to do it long enough, the heart opens. And when you feel that, then you transition, and now the message will come through.
Absolutely. I agree with this 100%. I remind people all the time, everything every human does is to feel better. So until you get to the good feeling, you won't get the good results, right? Whatever you're feeling will tell you what you're focused on. And by the law of focus, whatever you focus on, you find. So you want to know what you're focused on? What are you feeling, right? And so just like you said, when you're sitting there and you're in the pit of your stomach and you got a bill and you don't know how, and I always say belief means that how is not my business. I'm just believing, because when I believe, I visualize. You have such a powerful mind that once you allow yourself to be in that space of peace, it will open up. And it's amazing what will pour out. Just like you got the butterflies behind you, I love the imagery of the butterfly, because that's one of the only creatures on the planet that does a complete transformation, right? And we know the history of the butterfly. If you at any point pull that shell off in that moth phase before it comes a butterfly, it will never fly. it must go through the pain to become something amazingly beautiful. And we must too. To get to the beauty of your heart, like you said, you stand in it. Face it, because it's not real. What is it? False evidence appearing real.
False evidence. It sure feels real, but it's not.
It's, man, right? I tell people it's amazing. Once you stand in it, you'll realize, look, there's nobody touching me. Why do I feel this much pain? You'll actually start to recognize the ridiculousness of the story that your head has been telling you, where your heart is trying to guide you. Your heart will start to come in and say, look at what you're doing to yourself. So, and it allows you to be so much more valuable in that conversation with that potential buyer, because now you're not trying to sell them a product or service. You're actually there to connect with them and co-create something more beautiful. And that's what I love what you're saying, is that now you get to be the gift that you're meant to be to them in that meeting, in that connection, versus just hand them something like, here, they're getting all of you.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about this, like you can, your brain might say, this person, I'm going to go make an appointment with this person because person A, Sally, because I know Sally's got a good job and she's got plenty of money, or she has this position. I think if I get her on my side, then I'll get a sale, right? So your brain says, go make an appointment with Sally. And then you get a coffee, and the whole thing, you're trying to manipulate it in order to get her to buy and have the sale, right? You're trying to figure out what she wants and to say the right thing. And then inject some fear. And then, you're trying to use your strategies, like get this person to buy, right? And the whole thing feels icky. Now, if you let that go and you didn't do that and you just open, let's say you meditated, you got really quiet and you meditated first thing in the morning, and you just listen to the spirit and you just listen to your heart, and you just said, okay, who really could benefit from what I have to offer today? Who could really benefit from that? Let me know. And then maybe a name bubbles up, and maybe you got some resistance to that name. Maybe you're like, oh, I don't want to talk to that person, but I don't think that person likes me. Your mind starts spinning some stories. I guarantee you, if you make an appointment with that person and you get through your feelings and you sit down, that person's probably your sale. So yeah, this is like that. It's tricky. You got to pay attention.
Oh my God. I love that you said that, because this is what I do. I do this regularly. I ask, who would benefit from what I have to offer? And you're right. Generally, those first couple of names that pop, you're like, oh, really? You're like, initially, when you start that activity, you're like, oh, wait, I can't call them. Or even better yet, is somebody that you remember, oh, I was supposed to call them or connect with them or send them something. And I guarantee when you reach out, they will be like, you know what? Oh my God, I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you. They are, oh my God, this is such a better time. Oh, no worries. It wasn't like, the timing is optimal when you start trusting your heart.
Absolutely. And you got to move through the fear, because the fear is just your ego trying to keep you small and away from the bigger aspect of you, that which is bigger than you. I just call it that because I want to leave space for everyone's belief systems. But when you open to that bigger power, that bigger than you, then you can tap into that from your heart and receive its guidance. And it's like a magical connection system. When you get in the right space, totally aligned in your truth, your big why, we're talking about your big why. When you have your big why that you're so passionate about, and you're like, I'm going to, for me, it was energy medicine. I had a huge healing, 2 decades of psychotherapy weekly, and all this drudgery and blaming and shaming and judging myself. It was awful, and then I found this spiritual healing, and I got 45 minutes. I felt better. I was like, what? I'm doing that because nobody deserves to spend their life in psychotherapy, nobody. And so I said, I'm going to learn how to do this. I went and learned how to do it. I became the soul guide. It's so great. Well, I have a huge why. Why do I have? Because nobody deserves to spend their life shaming and blaming themselves. No one deserves that. Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves freedom. Everybody deserves prosperity. Everyone deserves to live their passion and their purpose and be of service and feel good about themselves and see their value. Everybody deserves that. This is one pathway to it. I'm going to get out there, and anybody who's open to it, I'm going to share it with them. And that's my why,
That's absolutely amazing and beautiful. And you're right. Everybody deserves love, right? The bottom line, again, what every human being is doing is to feel good. I heard it mentioned, I don't know where I was recently, and I don't have children, so I didn't personally experience it, but the women were saying that at the moment of your birth, unless by some nature you're not a, unwanted child, but for the majority of kids born, that is the most powerful moment of love that they ever experience, right? And then nothing ever lives up to that, right? You're chasing that utter feeling of that unconditional, like the most beautiful thing that ever happened. Okay. And this is not 100% because there are no absolutes in life, but again, it's powerful. And that's what people are chasing. People are chasing this feeling. And because of society, what is aligned in our head to what that should feel like is so off kilter that it causes all of this mess that doesn't align. And as far as sales and influence goes, you're building a business. You've been called to do something, to have an incredible career or build a business, and you're struggling. We promise you, myself and Kerri, that when you align up to your heart and you get to that space of knowing why you're doing what you're doing and you honor what you're hearing inside, sales, you're going to hit a little stoppage because universe, God, divine, Buddha, whatever you want is always going to challenge to see, do you really want this? So there's always a gap. You gotta step off the cliff. There's no other way around it. I do not lie. I tell people, you gotta step into the precipice of darkness.
You have to invest. And I call it in the shamanic world, we call it initiation. You have to say yes to the initiation. You have to claim it, even if it's like $5. It doesn't matter. You have to say yes to the initiation, and then you get brought along, and you'll get the challenges. Believe me, it's like
yes.
You'll have to face your fear, like that moment I was telling you about where I was like in fear, like, I got to pay my rent and I got kids and and I don't have my high tech salary and how's it going to work and all of this fear. And it's like, you know what? It's to drop into the stillness and the love inside of you and the connection, and you build that and the answer just drops right in and bam.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes. And building anything is brick by brick. I always remind people the reason this is that way. Remember, anything that gives you a confidence is required repetition. And think in terms of mastery or expertise in any area, category of life, 10,000. So if this is the first time, just go, woohoo, first time, third time, fifth time. All you got to do is focus on getting better. No perfect the first time. And face the fear, because as soon as you face the fear, it dissipates and you get stronger. And then you'll be like, and then the magic, that's where the magic comes in, like Kerri has mentioned. So Kerri, I want people to know how they can get in contact with you. They want to get a healing, if, especially people, like you said, so much of our population is being prescribed things for that stress, anxiety, that overwhelm, that fear, and all that. And there's a better way, a more powerful and fulfilling way. And I'd love for people to experience that. How can they get in touch with you?
Well, so I love what you said about working really hard, getting people like step by step and discipline and that kind of thing, because I do healings. I do healings for people, and that's like the angel lifting you up. Like, just, okay, let's lift you up right now, but then beyond that, you gotta and I had plenty of those healings, people, like, no judgment. I had plenty of healers come and lift me up, like, come on, sweetie, get back up again, you could do it. And so that's kind of what I do in the healing sense. But I also teach people how to build that flow, right? So when we want the flow to gush through, we want that beautiful big spirit flow, you gotta build the canal for it to flow through. And it is, like you said, brick by brick, where you become the channel, you become the canal, you become that on the inside, and then the spirit flows through you, and it's beautiful. So that is what I help people to do as well. So, and you can find out about that on my website. It's kerrihummingbird.com, KERRI hummingbird.com.
Yes. And you have a book. I want people, because I love author. We gotta celebrate. This is no easy feat, people.
#1 international bestseller, and it's actually on Amazon, and it's been the second wave transcending the human drama. And it's really about anyone who feels really called, like you have a deep sense of purpose. And even if you're not sure what that is yet, you feel an urgency about it. Like, I've got to remember what this thing is because I'm supposed to do it now. Like, you need that book. And it's really, it tells a lot of information, and some of it feels a little far out, you know, to some of you maybe, but if you read it, some part of you will acknowledge, like your heart will, and you might even cry. People cry when they read this book. So it could, you know, you might cry, you know, like, oh my gosh, I forgot. Okay, now I remember. So that book, and it's been on the bestseller list for like 8 weeks. And I, you know, once again,
Yeah.
I didn't force and cajole and manipulate that. I handed it over to the higher power, and I said, okay, if this book is meant to be in the hands of, then I say it should be in the hands of everyone who needs it. I hand it over and I say, thank you. And it's not about me. It's about the person who needs to read it. That's going to have the heart opening and remember and be liberated. That's what my intention was. And look, it's like 8 weeks. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. We'll put the links in. I'll go in and after we wrap up, I'll put the links to Kerri's website. You can go on and book an appointment with her. We'll put the link to the book on Amazon on there. And remember, it's the heart, right? So your heart is what connects. And I remind people buy for emotional reasons and they justify with logic. We are now in a marketplace. Technology has taken over. Me Too's pop up like in a minute. There's nothing that will stand on its own 2 feet of benefits and features for very long. What makes the sale? What is moving through influence? Connecting with your clients and your prospective buyers from a place from your heart, because then they know they actually care. They know that they're getting someone who cares more about them than just putting a product or service in their hands. So I thank you so much for sharing that journey and being so authentic and honest about this is not easy, and yet and still it's the most wonderful thing I ever did.
The most wonderful.
That's right. Most wonderful thing I ever did. And there's going to be some dark days, people.
That's okay. That's why you have a mentor.
Exactly. If you want a fabulous mentor, Kerri is one of those mentors. So I'm going to wrap this up. Is there anything you'd like to leave me with before we close out today?
I just want to say thank you so much for extending your influence to me and helping me get this message out and share another perspective that maybe people hadn't heard up until now. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Meshell.
Thank you for being here. So this has been Women of Sales and Influence, sponsored by the National Association of Sales Professionals. And if you are not currently a member of the National Association of Sales Professionals, join us at www.nasp.com/join. And currently, we're offering a seller style assessment. I always remind people, in order to get to where you want to be, a top performing sales rep, you need to know where you're starting from. And that seller style assessment will give you that. It'll give you your point A and some guidance on point B. And with it, currently, for a limited time, we're offering a complimentary review call of your assessment and to help you put some steps in place to move towards that desired end result. So Kerri, thank you for being on live today. Stay where you are. Everyone, I will see you guys next week with another fabulous live interview. Thank you for watching. And we are signing off live